Well, we had a voter registration drive at our high school.
I don't want your name in it. Okay. I'll take lots.
Yeah.
He's alright though. He got loose. I'm alright though. He said, I know this is where he goes to the hospital. I know. He's like, how are you?
Good, I'm fine.
I didn't know. It just all happened like the past 30 minutes.
Hey, how you doing?
I didn't know. 120 is a lot. Are you on the first one? Come all the way to your left. All the way to the left.
You got to be here.
You're going to see different exits, and on the left is should see a door that's open. No, it's not. Are you at the Capitol building? Come on, okay.
I like that song.
I am not. Huh? Are you on ground or are you on the first floor? If you come to the first floor, you go all the when you get off the elevator, you go all the way to your left. Just keep going left. Yeah, are you? I don't know where you're at. Are you on? Okay, you gotta come up to one. Come up to one. Come all the way to the left, so you see the other exit. Carmen is like, Carmen should be walking in.
Especially if you're more vertically challenged, you can see it.
Is it just a
I know if you're a little bit tall, you
Sure.
just want to see everybody.
I could go over outside and make it a little more.
Well, I did. I had
Okay, perfect. Okay. This makes a lot of sense.
Oh, I can have a camera. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just
Senator Mitchell. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's on the left side of the
I think
building.
one of the everything is
Yeah.
like John and Fraser, I used to be marketed and be marketed. So it's great to see. I am the committee manager. So we're still working on election policy.
I'm not sure.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I worked with Isaiah on a couple things before. I'm so
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, I think it was wonderful. I did a forum to I think I've talked to Bill. The person that came out with that was
It's probably our leader.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the project you guys worked on. Thank you.
That's right. Nice.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. Let's all acknowledge this does not get old. Moving things people want. Good to see you all. There she is. How are you, man? Great to see you. Yes. Good morning, everyone. I would like to start. We're joined by a lot of special folks, but we have one special guest, someone who devoted a lifetime to this, someone who understood that moving towards a democracy where everyone can participate, where restrictions for voting are taken down, and started Minnesota's road to being the top voter turnout state in the nation. Former Secretary of State Joan Grow is with us, and I'd like to give her all the When we say we stand on the shoulders of giants, we have one with us, and I think for Minnesota's tradition and what Minnesotans are most proud of the participation in the democracy, to have the Secretary here means a lot on a day like this. Look, today is a great day for democracy. When you're signing a bill called Democracy for All that does some very simple things, pulls down the barriers to access to the ballot, make sure we're protecting people's ability to do that. Making sure in a complicated life we're making it a little simpler. And you're going to hear from the authors of this bill. And I want to give a huge thank you to everyone involved in this. Representative Greenman, Senator Bolden, and then of course you're going to hear from our current Secretary of State who's carrying on that champion, picked that mantle up and has run with it, from Secretary Simon. And then you're going to hear what I think, and you hear from the future, you're going to hear from Charlie Schmidt, who's going to talk about why our young people are so excited, why Minnesota ranks second in voter turnout in this last election between 18 and 29-year-olds. They rose to the occasion because the issues impacting them, from access to medical care to the climate to other things, makes them understand the ballot is the most powerful thing we have. Your voice is in your ballot. And if you don't have access to that, or it's made more difficult, your voice is stifled. And so when we had our young people rise up to make the case, and I, for one, we'll hear from the authors of this, amazing to me, what are the objections with getting people registered to vote? I search everything to try and figure this out. Why are you in? We're not telling people how to vote. We're not telling people if they have to. We're just making sure that the process to get them registered is easy and get them in there, and then we're going to encourage them. We know when people register to vote, they go vote. And we know when more people vote, the democracy is much more representative, and you get the results that the vast majority of folks want to get. This is a great bill. The folks who made this happen, I can't tell you, and I think all of us know, and we just need to name it. Against a backdrop of where the elections were questioned with no evidence, against a backdrop of people tried to stop the counting of the electoral votes, it's more important than ever that we shore up this democracy. We shore it up for the people of Minnesota, we shore it up in this country, we show the rest of the world. The world's oldest and strongest democracy is strong. Minnesota is doing our part by making it stronger today, and this piece of legislation is just the exact type of things that Minnesotans asked us to do. So I can't tell you how grateful I am for the folks who made this happen, how proud we are as an administration to work side by side with this, to see these champions and see this history, and to see it in person, that long trajectory of Minnesota being held up as a model of what voting and democracy should look like. It makes me so incredibly proud. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner in this work, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Well, today's a good day. I'm excited by how many folks are in this room. It feels warm, but also very powerful. So grateful for everyone who is here. And I want to thank everybody who is involved in this bill. I also specifically want to thank our staff. I would love to thank Simone on our team, who really dug in hard on this bill. And here's what I know. I know on election day, I always bring my daughter with me. When she was a baby, I would hoist her up on my hip, and when I signed in the bubbles, I would talk about why we were voting. She might not have understood, but it mattered. And now when I go to vote, she still comes with me. She may absolutely know now all the people who are on the ballot, which is exciting for a 10-year-old. But it also is what my mother did with me. Voting is a tradition in our family, and voting is a tradition in Minnesota. And we are living up to who we are, our full potential as Minnesotans today, with the signing of this bill. In Minnesota, we are not leading out of fear. We're not fearful of protecting your rights. making long overdue changes to systems that don't work for everyone, or helping more Minnesotans get to the ballot boxes. In fact, we are excited, and even as Minnesotans, we're proud. And we're going to be a little boastful about it today, which is out of character, but that's all right. I'm proud to say that Minnesota's ballots will now be offered in additional languages. I'm proud to have fair and lawful campaigns. And I'm excited to see our young people engaged in the democratic process. Our democracy is strong when everyone gets to participate, and we mean everyone. It's time to break down barriers that prevent people from feeling heard or seen or valued or represented, and that starts today. I'm grateful to our legislative leaders for their tireless work on this bill, and this is another place where there are folks who have had a role in this work as organizers and now as legislators in getting this across the finish line. And, you know, for so many folks, we know that we have one of, I'll just say it, the best Secretary of State in the country. We have a long tradition of having the best Secretary of State in the country. And it's my pleasure to introduce someone who is in the democracy business, and today business is booming. Secretary of State Steve Simon.
What a great day to be in the democracy business today. There's no question about it. I want to say a little bit about how I think we got here. The first reason we got here is leadership. Strong, consistent leadership. And it started with Secretary of State Joan Grow, who 50 years ago started talking about some of the issues that we're seeing in this bill. I want to thank Representative Emma Greenman, Senator Liz Bolden. They did the hard work of drafting and coalition building and persuading and executing an effective legislative strategy. They have done work of historic proportions. Each of them, I should point out, was elected in 2020. That was just 30 months ago. And I can tell you, as an alum of the Minnesota House, there are legislators that spend very long careers in this place and never once have a bill as consequential and sweeping as this. So what I'm really saying, Senator and Representative, is it's all downhill from here. You might as well just phone it in for the rest of your legislative career because you've peaked early. I'm kidding. No, you're doing amazing work and you're going to continue to do amazing work. I also want to thank Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Governor Walz for their early, consistent, and relentless support for the provisions in this bill going back many years. I am one of many in this room who have been working on this stuff, particular provisions in this bill, for 10 to 15 years. I'm not alone. Many are like me. Before today, we were stuck in stalemate. And I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have a lieutenant governor and a governor who not only show support for democracy reform publicly on days like today, but who show it privately and often, even when no one is watching. So thank you, Lieutenant Governor and Governor Walz. The second reason I think we're here is Minnesota values. And that's not just happy talk, that is history. The fact that Minnesota has some of the highest voter turnout in America year after year after year is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not something in the water. Minnesotans value voting, period. That is a fact. And that shows up in the laws that we pass and in the reforms that we embrace. 50 years ago, almost to the day, in 1973, Minnesota became one of the first states in the country to adopt same-day or election day voter registration. It is still the jewel in the crown of Minnesota election law. And in the decades that followed, we built on that success with things like online voter registration and the ability of every eligible Minnesotan to vote from home. Today, once Governor Walz signs this bill, we will add to that list other items that belong in the Election Law Hall of Fame. Automatic voter registration, pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds, and penalties for those who deliberately lie about elections with the intent who lie about elections with the intent of impeding another Minnesotan's access to the ballot box. This bill is a historic victory, but it is not a partisan victory. Red states, blue states, and purple states have adopted the measures that we're talking about today. And that's because these reforms are nonpartisan in origin and nonpartisan in effect. They benefit all Minnesotans, and this new law will help in our ongoing work to make our Minnesota elections the most fair, accurate, honest, and secure in the nation. This is what democracy for the people looks like. Thank you.
Good morning, and Secretary Simon took all my thank yous, but I want to say this is a good day for democracy. Yeah. And the people behind me, the people out there behind the cameras, thousands of people worked on this bill year after year. It is a good day for democracy, and I am so excited to be surrounded by so many democracy champions in this room. I'm so proud of this bill, the Democracy for the People Act. And in many ways, the Democracy for the People Act is a long time coming. It builds on the Minnesota's proud tradition of strengthening and expanding, investing in the voices of Minnesotans, a proud tradition that I, again, will call out my mentor, former Secretary of State Joan Grow, helped implement same-day registration and make Minnesota the highest voter turnout district in the state. But it's also a very urgent moment. The Democracy for the People Act comes at a moment in our country's history where states are showing two very different visions for the future of American self-governance. It is a generational moment where we have a choice to make. What we've seen over the last couple of years and the last couple of months is states across the country making a choice. We are making a choice for a thriving, multiracial, multi-generational, multi-regional, gender-inclusive democracy. And some states are making a choice for something that doesn't look like democracy at all. In 2022, Minnesotans and Americans, frankly, were presented a clear choice. Democracy was on the ballot, up and down the ballot. Here in Minnesota, we saw voters show up not just to participate in our democracy, but to protect it. Minnesotans elected a pro-democracy governor and lieutenant governor, a pro-democracy attorney general, secretary of state, auditor, and pro-democracy majorities in the House and the Senate with a mandate to protect and strengthen inclusive democracy. Yeah. And with this bill, in this moment, we are doing that. As we talked about, this bill builds on the strong tradition to meet the moment, strengthening the freedom to vote by making voter registration a bridge, not a barrier with automatic voter registration, pre-registration. Can't list them all because there's a lot of good stuff in this bill. We're protecting voters in our democratic institutions and ensuring that everybody has the information they need to vote in the language they need it. And we are putting people, not money, not foreign influences, not corporations, people, Minnesotans at the center of our democracy. What we're doing here matters. It matters to Minnesotans, and frankly, it matters to folks across the country who are watching what's happening in states right now. As a voting rights lawyer who's been working on this for a long time, this is not new. And I can tell you, though, we are at a moment, a stark choice. States like Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Florida, they're restricting the right to vote, targeting Black voters, young voters, Latino voters. States like Wisconsin and North Carolina have gerrymandered their districts to basically be voter-proof. And now, in the last couple of months, we have seen a dangerous trend in states like Tennessee, Montana, and Oklahoma, punishing, censoring, and expelling dissenting elected officials, Black and trans elected officials, non-binary elected officials, to silence their voices and the voices of their communities. People are looking at the choices we're making right now in Minnesota. The power of our democracy in America is that we together can improve it and we can strengthen it. And today, in the North Star State, by enacting the Democracy for the People Act, we are choosing democracy.
That's right.
Minnesota is choosing we the people. We are choosing Minnesotans. We are choosing multiracial, gender inclusive, multi-generational democracy with Minnesotans at the center. And we are choosing to be a North Star by expanding the freedom to vote and strengthening the power of voters in our elections. I am so proud of this bill. I am proud of the work that's gone in generationally, and I am proud of the work that Minnesotans are doing to make our democracy more welcoming, more inclusive for everyone. Thank you. And I am very proud, as a voting rights lawyer, to introduce my co-author in the bill in the Senate, Senator Liz Bolden, who is a nurse, and we have been a great team. Yay.
Good morning. It is a good day for democracy. It is a good day to be a Minnesotan. So I'm Liz Bolden. I am extremely proud to carry this bill across the finish line and delighted to do that work with my partner in democracy and dear friend, Emma Greenman. I also want to thank those who have contributed to this work across many, many years, and it has been many, many years. So those who were elected before me, Secretary of State, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, organizers, community members, a lot of folks, staff, a lot of work has gone into this bill to get it to this point, and I want to recognize that. I also want to recognize I always say I'm not a voting rights lawyer. I'm a registered nurse, and so I come to this work with a different lens. But I come to it because I know that all of the other work that I want to do, that we want to do as a body, is predicated on a strong and functioning democracy, a multiracial, multi-regional, multi-generational, inclusive democracy where Minnesotans are at the center of that, and the voice of Minnesotans are at the center of that. So as we are doing work to be sure that everyone has access to health care, that we are investing in education, that we are ending homelessness, all of those pieces depend on democracy. And so it is the foundation of all the other work that we want to do and need to do. And so as we are building the best state, that North Star state, in many spaces and in many ways, this is the work that comes before that. This is the necessary work that helps us to build that, to be sure that every voice can be heard, that we are making it easier for Minnesotans to vote, not harder. And we know that's what Minnesotans want. Minnesotans are voters. That is our value. And so this is the work that allows us to do all the other work. So I am extremely honored to be part of this. I will also just say that this is a great bill with lots of pieces, and it's the floor. There is more to be done. As was mentioned, we are seeing attacks on democracy across the country, and I anticipate we will see that to continue. So there is more work to come, and I'm excited to do that work. And in the words of Governor Tim Walz, I will just say, watch us. And with that, I'm happy to turn it off to our next speaker, Charlie Schmidt.
Charlie. Hey, Charlie.
Good morning. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak today and for doing so much work for youth. We really appreciate it. It's not often a 17-year-old gets to be surrounded by half the state government. My name is Charlie Schmidt. I am currently a junior at Washburn High School in Minneapolis. I also serve on the Minnesota Youth Council, and I am here today to talk about how excited I am that we've passed the Democracy for the People Act. I've witnessed firsthand the process of voting through my experience as a student election judge last year. And let me just say, voting is the most valuable right we have as Americans, and it saddens me every day to know that a lot of Americans, and a lot of youth specifically, do not utilize that right to the fullest potential. This soon-to-be law makes sure that there are no excuses to not utilize that right. It makes registering and actually voting a lot more accessible and easier to the entire population, which in turn strengthens our democracy. It accomplishes this goal through things such as pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds and automatic voter registration. This bill works to expand the rights of voting for everyone in the state by making voting an easier and smooth process that everyone feels involved in, while also making sure that those voters and our election workers are safe. This soon-to-be law is very valuable because it does something that no other law has done before. It allows the majority of high schoolers to feel like they are actually part of the voting process. And by association, a part of the democracy business, as Secretary Simon would say. Pre-registration is a key part of this bill, and it's one of the main reasons I've been so actively in support of this bill. As a 17-year-old, I witness people every day who want to be more involved and want to do more in their communities, and pre-registration is the perfect way to get people out there and engaged in our election process. Pre-registration will get students excited to vote and make them anticipating voting even more when they turn 18. Voting should be an easy and smooth process that everyone feels safe and involved in. Studies show that people who start voting young will continue to vote consistently throughout the rest of their life. My school currently holds mock elections on every election day, and that would also just be the perfect opportunity to talk about pre-registration with these high schoolers and get those healthy voter habits built into their minds. Obviously, this bill is just a starting point, and a lot of work still needs to be done, especially regarding adequate youth participation, but this bill is a perfect step in the right direction. Thank you to everyone who's done their work on this. I really appreciate it. There's countless people in this room that I just don't know who have done so much. I'm excited to pre-register to vote in the coming months. And with that, I'd like to introduce Brian Fullman with We Choose Us Minnesota.
Well done. Well done.
That's what democracy looks like.
That's right.
That's what democracy looks like.
Yeah.
Love Charlie. So again, my name is Brian Fullman. I'm one of the 5 lead organizers for BBCC of Isaiah Faith in Minnesota. That's the Barbershop and Black Congregation Cooperative. But I'm also a member of the We Choose Us Coalition movement. Yeah. And the brilliant leadership of Lily Sassy is being represented in this space with us today. I want to thank a few people. So first, I want to thank the governor. Thank you, Governor. The governor has been very supportive, has been very eager in signing this bill, and has been public around that. So that actually made our organizing a lot better. I want to thank the lead. I want to thank the lead authors, Emma Greenman, House of Representatives, and Senate Lindsey Port. I really, really appreciate all of you all, Secretary of State, Steve Simon, and then I also, because I'm very humble and so many people creating the path for us to be in this space right now, I want to thank the Secretary of State, Joan Grove, for everything that you've done. Thank you. Thank you. So this path has been about organizing. This path has been about who we've been talking to across the state. See, when we talk about what democracy looks like, I embody that. I was not voting 12, 13 years ago. I didn't think my voice was worth anything, and now I'm at a bill signing, the second bill signing, that is doing structural change for our democracy in the state of Minnesota. This is what democracy looks like. We've been organizing House meetings, we've been doing summits, we've been organizing leadership assemblies, we've been training folks to learn how to talk to each other from St. Cloud to Rochester and beyond, to create a mandate for all of us to understand we don't get nothing we want if everybody's not included. And Minnesota has modeled that. And I want to say this in short, because I'm not going to keep you all long. The work has just started, you all. Yes, we've done some fantastic things and we've passed some bills. But now we actually have to go inform people of the new access, the new pathways, to let people know obstacles are being moved out of the way. Multiracial democracy in the state of Minnesota is not going to happen overnight. So we need everybody to stay focused. Yes, we will take time out to celebrate today because we all deserve it. Yeah. But we got work to do, you all. To create the kind of democracy that this state deserves is going to take all of us to stay in our lane and move in our lane in the most effective way. So I look forward to partnering with everybody in this room. I look forward to organizing and inviting people to a path of liberation and using their voices. But more importantly, I want to do it together and collectively with all of us. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you imagine saying, nah, I'm not with that? How in the world? So, thank thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to everyone here. We follow our democracy, and the last thing on this path is to put some signatures on this. It's law, and our democracy is strong. There you go. Yes. 50 years it took. Let's do the next one sooner. Thank you, Secretary. Well, thank you, everyone. You've got the authors here. You've got the election experts, truly, probably more so than any place else in the country. We'd be glad to answer some questions.
I think in a nutshell, it took electing a pro-democracy majority, a pro-democracy trifecta that was really focused on the impact that these policies would have on Minnesotans. There has been, as I think Secretary Simon said, automatic voter registration has passed in red states, blue states, and purple states. We've been working on it for a while. I've been working on it since I got to the legislature in 2000, but Representative Bonner, others have been working on it for a lot longer than that. And what it took was working together, having a good bill, and having the political will to say, we're going to center the voices and ensure that, as my brother Brian Fullman said, we're going to ensure that voting is accessible and that everybody has access, everybody has an on-ramp. We're going to make voter registration a bridge, not a barrier to participation. Yes, and so I'm glad you asked. This is a good effective date question. You know, there's a lot of great stuff in this bill, and some will take longer than others to implement, just as things go. And our great Secretary of State, our counties, our local folks, in some cases our drivers and services and everything are going to be involved. I believe that with the pre-registration, that is an effective date of 2024. So as Charlie said, who I should mention is from my district, Washburn High School. But as Charlie said, I think what's going to happen is right now, students are going to start talking to each other about it so that by the time it goes into effect in 2024, folks will have an on-ramp. And I am very excited to see the organizing that happens around this, because we have heard from students. Representative Kraft carried this as a standalone in the House, and we had a great testimony of lots of students who are really ready for this. I'm a voting rights and campaign finance lawyer, and I'd say they're wrong. We have heard on the House and the on the House and the Senate floor, we have heard a lot, frankly, in response to all of our bills, that they're unconstitutional, that they're illegal, but what they're really saying is we don't actually want to talk to you about what the bills actually do, because we know Minnesotans want that. You know, what I said on the floor when we talked about that is I just wish that those colleagues, I wish that we could have been having a conversation about how we strengthen and improve access to Minnesota voters, how we strengthen their voices, and not the voices of corporations and foreign influences. But that's not the conversation they wanted to have. So I would say we are on strong legal ground. The express advocacy provision, to get in the weeds, is the same provision that's been in place at the federal government since 2002. And I feel very strong about the bills that we have in this bill and their constitutionality.
Yeah.
Great.
Just a technical thing, is the automatic voter registration 2024 too, or is
That will kick in once we in our office basically certify that it's ready to go structurally, which we hope will be sooner rather than later. A lot of moving parts. We're dealing with the Department of Public Safety. They've been a great partner, but TBD.
Great. Thank you all. Take some off topic.
Steve, we got to sign that. You sign it.
If they want, do you want the secretary to sign that? Secretary's going to put his final signature, which is, of course, the process that this done is once we enroll this. So this is the part you don't normally witness in public. So, but this is the final step on every bill. The secretary certifies them. This is it. This is the last step. That's it. There you go. Well, we'll let these folks clear out a little bit, and then I would take some off topic if we want to. Thank you. Great answer on that, too. Well done. Congratulations. Well done. Well done.
My son's 16, he'll turn 18 3 weeks before the next convention. Very excited.